Thank you for joining us on our Family First Life Tri-State Serve the People podcast. We appreciate you tuning in, spending your time to develop and grow with us. Follow us, please, on all our social media platforms at Family First Life Tri-State or FFL Tri-State. We love you. Keep listening, and I hope this information is serving you across the country. All right, everybody. Thank you for jumping on with us. This Family First Life Tri-State Training Day podcast. We are elated today. We got Erika Walker, Senior Vice President of FFL Blessings, elite producer, and honestly, just completely crushing it, charging, taking names, kicking butt, helping over 300 plus families a month in only a 6-month window. She's got a lot to offer. I appreciate you jumping on with us, Erika. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you because I hear everything that's rippling through my airwaves is that you are a boss lady who's getting it done and innovating in our insurance space. So I'm honored to have you on and talk a little bit more about some of the things you're doing. But for the audience that doesn't know you, could you kind of give us a backdrop of who you are and where you're coming from? I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely. So I was in the insurance industry at my practice company for about a year and a half. We did some in home and then we switched to telesales. Loved the telesales model. Never thought I would see myself in the insurance industry. Honestly, it just kind of fell in my lap. I started as an admin and then I was hiring people and it was like, wait a second, I could easily do this. So got my insurance license, was there for a year and a half. And then I got to a point, honestly, I was making good money, but my team wasn't. It was kind of like a revolving door. And my brother wanted to join the insurance industry and join the company. And I told him no. And he was like, why, if you're doing so well, like, why won't you, share this with your friends and your family? And honestly, at that point, it really made me take a step back and reevaluate what I was doing, because I was never a person that would choose money over my morals and values. And it got to a point where I could no longer help people make a substantial income, especially when they're, leaving their job or they're using this to pay their bills, right? Like I couldn't, look at them and tell them that I could make them successful. So Josh Williams came to FFL. And I saw a lot of people from my practice company come to FFL, but it was never people that were like big rock stars, So when I was like always, hey, the grass isn't greener on the other side, right? And so that's my motto. And when he left, it was like, wait a second, like, hold up. I saw it on Instagram. I called and I was like, dude, what are you doing? And because he was making.
But you were very curious, right? Like at that point in time.
Yeah, that caught my attention. And he pretty much filled me in about FFL and everything. And I remember thinking it was just way too good to be true. But I was like, Erika, because I had a pretty good agency over at my practice company, so it was like I had to kind of get in the mindset of I'd have to start all over. But I knew I could produce. I knew I could write business. And the comp at FFL is high, the highest. So I literally was like, you know what, if this just is a fraction of as good as they say it is, I'll be just fine. So that was my motto. I was not even expecting it to be as good as what it actually is. So I left that company and I didn't do anything like in insurance for 3 months. I took 3 months off of work, of the industry, really kind of did a soul searching to see if this is something that I even wanted to do anymore. I was just so burnt out in the industry.
Wow.
Looked at real estate, looked at everything. And honestly, there's nothing out there like what FFL has to offer. So I remember Josh called me and I was, on a beach in Hawaii, just escaping the world.
I like some Hawaii, boy.
I know. And he's like, Erika, what are you doing? He's like, come on, just give it 90 days. And then at the end of 90 days, if you hate it or you're not doing well, like you can leave. And so I was like, all right. So October was my first like all in month, full time, gave it a shot and shoot, fast forward 6 months, it's been a freaking wild ride.
Good for you, man. That's awesome, man. That's serious. Um,
Yeah.
so you latch on to the opportunity. You must have went gangbusters day one as far as like being able to help families. Yes.
Yes. So when I came to FFL, I knew that I needed to like kind of make a name for myself. And so I went on the mission my first month. My goal was to protect, 50 families
Mm.
that month. And I remember working shoot every day. And until I hit it, I ended up submitting about protecting 56 families.
Ah.
And it's funny because I never had the intent of building an agency at all. Like I just was going to personally produce.
Mm.
And then when I saw kind of just the value and the impact that I'm like, shoot, literally anybody, with a work ethic and determination can do this.
Mm.
People just kind of started flooding to the opportunity without me even really trying.
Mm.
So then it was like, okay, let's produce, protect families and let's help other people, change their life. So it's been crazy. Yeah.
That's all. How does it feel?
It feels amazing. It's amazing.
That's great. I just love the way you said it. You had all the vigor and spunk in the world, but you're doing well. You're helping families. You're giving back the opportunity to people,
Mm-hmm.
and people are getting to benefit from that. You've moved yourself into a leadership position where you're responsible, where your mental work ethic, vision, your ability to actually help people is you now have responsibility. That whole package. How's that feel for you?
It feels amazing. I always knew I was going to be a business owner. The 9 to 5 just never was something I was going to do. But I wanted to be in a business where it was never like just me being successful and making all the money and like, look at me. I wanted something where I could take the average person that wants to change their life and that has a work ethic and be able to help them. That was my biggest thing. I didn't want it to just all be about me. And with FFL, that opportunity it is here. And I think I get more excited about, we just promoted 2 logos last month.
Nice.
And I get more excited about my team's success and those text messages of, Erika, you're such a blessing to me. You've changed my life. Like
yeah.
That is just, that's life changing. Making an impact in people's lives is something that is what I've always wanted to do.
That's awesome, and it's happening, and it's picking up steam.
Mm-hmm.
You got 2 logos you just released, and it's going to be more. So that's, I remember the feeling of being at the forefront of that, where it was just starting to roll the way you always could envision it, and knowing that momentum is going to carry it. So I know how that feels, and that's pretty awesome. Let's get into your practice. Kind of how you structure your days, the way you conduct business from a telesales perspective. Can you kind of open that up for us and kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing with doing telesales is having a schedule, especially if you're building an agency or you have an agency or want to. I have everything scheduled out. I'm up at 5:30 every morning, have my quiet time. I'm on Zoom by 7:30, checking emails. 8 o'clock, 8 to 9, I'm, talking, catching up with the team. Then, I'm dialing from 9 to 12, take a break, have another dial session in the afternoon, and then help the team. So I kind of structure it in blocks. So I'll have, 2 good chunks of my production time. And people know, like, I don't answer questions. I don't help. Like I have other leaders on there that, people can go to help. And then as soon as I'm done, then I'm checking in, I'm going to breakout rooms, I'm training, I'm answering calls. So I work like 7 days a week. Sunday, I take like half a day off. But the other half I'm doing, recruiting and catching up on admin stuff. So, I mean, it's kind of nonstop, but I think the biggest thing with telesales is, when you're working from home, people tend to get distracted. And that was me too in the beginning. And once I set a schedule and really followed it was when it was just, you get into that rhythm and it just is smooth sailing when you have a schedule and stick with it.
No doubt. So is that schedule impacted by the days, or is that the same schedule every day?
It's literally the same schedule every day.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
So how long are your dial sessions? The first one's 3 hours. Second one's about
4.
Okay. So about 7 hours a day?
Mm-hmm.
Is it appointment based, or you call in the close?
All call to close. I don't set any appointments at all.
Got it. And what is your lead structure like, Erika? How are you? What are you bringing in on a weekly basis? What are you doing for leads?
So I buy leads it depends on the week. If I want to have a big week, I'll buy leads 3 times a week. Typically I buy them twice a week. I spend about $2,000 on leads a week. And also, protect about 15 families a week.
That's strong.
On average. That's kind of my goal. So, I mean, I'm not afraid to spend more money if I need to, right? If I'm not at my goal, shoot, I'll buy more leads, and do that. So, but the leads that we're running are the same leads that, people CRM and stuff like that people run in home. The only thing we're doing is just, instead of setting appointments, it's just a call to close. So.
Got it. Now, are you using more internet, more direct mail? What do you currently use?
I do both. I love running final expenses. I do some mortgage as well. I kind of like to mix it up. I like to run everything so that when a new agent comes in, they don't have an excuse as to she runs a special lead type, so
special lead
I have a county locked out. But I honestly, I don't get a ton from them. And, people have asked me, why don't you lock more counties out? I'm like, well, I mean, that's kind of yeah, I could, but when I'm leading by example and I'm running leads that, an agent has access to in the CRM, it's like, hey, you can do this too.
No doubt.
So
easier approach, easier to teach, more equipped, fingers more dirty. Got it. Now are you working in different time zones? Because with the ability to do telesales, you can literally work in 5 or 6 time zones from Hawaii to the East Coast. Are you actually doing that? And if you are, is that a strategy that you're doing? Like you have a bundle of leads that at maybe 7 o'clock you pop open because you need to hit this area. How does that work?
So I run a lot of East Coast.
Got it.
So that way when I'm, start my dial time at 9, it's already 12 there and it's their lunchtime. So I'm hitting people kind of at that point. And then for the later session, I'll do East Coast again because it's their evening time, right? And then if I'm working later, then I'll do Pacific. I'll switch to Pacific.
That's so great.
Yeah. And so that's kind of helped me kind of target those people. If I have a higher quality lead, like game time or something, I'll run those in the evening when they're home. So I'll dial, my other leads during the day. And then when it hits 6 o'clock, East Coast time, then I'll switch to the more higher quality leads. I won't call those throughout the day.
Now, how are you teaching this? Because you have a recipe that works for you. Do you tell people to figure it out? Do you tell, from a time zone standpoint, what works for them? Are they trial and erroring it, or are you actually teaching something methodical that allows them to find their way?
Oh, they're glued to my hip. I teach them everything. So we have a Zoom room that our team's on. And so pretty much everybody, I require people to be on Zoom. If I say, hey, you're a business owner, you can do what you want, but your first 5, protecting your first 5 families, you need to be on Zoom. Once you've done that, if you don't want to be on Zoom anymore, hey, you're an adult, that's up to you. Right. So they're on Zoom the first day, they're observing. We're all in a main room. When we get somebody on the phone, we unmute. When they get to, go grab a pen and paper, we go into a breakout room. So that allows agents to come and watch me present, and it allows me to watch them present. So they're observing for the first day or so, and then they're dialing and getting on the phone. So we literally teach them everything, and being able to work virtually, having the Zoom method of plugging in, they can share their screen. We can help them fill out applications. Like, we help them do all of that, go over lead strategy, time zones. We have people on the East Coast as well. So we definitely go over everything with them.
Got it. And are you, you have leaders obviously at this point, so you're not shouldering the burden all by yourself. How are you how are you distributing some of that responsibility?
So I don't take on direct agents anymore. I'm pretty much have found kind of my legs and my leaders. So I funnel. They kind of do the basic stuff of, any of the little detail work. And then it's kind of a tag team thing, honestly.
Yeah.
And since they're plugging in on Zoom, they know that they have both of us that are there, or anybody on the Zoom that's, knows what they're doing to help. But so I pretty much just, hey, whoever's a good fit with somebody or who's, producing and recruiting, they'll have an agent. And then it's pretty much both of us kind of tag teaming that training.
Got it. How many legs do you currently have?
I have 2 solid ones that we just promoted to logo, and then I'm working on a third.
That's strong. Yeah. Great business model. A lot of people are doing that now. When you think about your ability to recruit to this model, okay, you actually you have a schedule, right? And in that schedule, there's a recruiting times. How are you doing that? What are you using to recruit, and how are you interweaving recruiting into this business model?
So I mainly recruit on Instagram, honestly. Adding people, searching different sales jobs, messaging people. I try to have at least 100 points of contact a day of people. So I'm constantly reaching out. I treat it honestly just like a lead, right? Like, you have to have more leads to call family, to get families protected. Same thing with recruiting. The more that you're reaching out to people, somebody on my team said, they're talking to 10 people a day. And I was like, imagine only buying 10 leads. Like, that's not going to do anything. So, doing at least, 100 points of contact a day. And I schedule that. I do some in the morning and then some in the evening. Those are my, recruiting times. And then I have my hours blocked off if I need to do any recruiting calls. And then Sunday, I do the majority of calls on Sunday.
Recruiting calls.
Day off.
Got it. So anything that goes from, a message to an appointment, you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. And I utilize the video, that Grady has out there for, kind of the going over FFL. So I'm not hopping on the phone with just anybody. If I am, it's like a quick, 5-10 minute call to get them onboarded.
Right. Yeah, that's strong. I mean, that's something that, obviously you guys are doing top down. Hayden and Nina had, gotten on a podcast with us, kind of went over that. Josh went over some of this with us. I mean, it's a very, when I say you're innovating, like, a lot of the stuff you guys are doing is extremely innovative to the industry from a standpoint of, we can do this entire thing virtual. We can do this entire thing through social media. We can do this entire thing through the phone and Zoom, and we may or may not have to leave our houses.
Nice.
It's but it's awesome because it gives hope to so many people. When you talk about this platform that you run day to day, 7 days a week, how do you talk about this?
It's funny because a lot of people that follow me on Instagram, they see what I post, and this business is very attractive, and I tell people, like, hey, you don't need to match my work ethic. Like, I'm trying to get, to a goal fast, And so I get that that's not everybody's goal, right? But it's something that you can literally make your own, whether you want, you're a stay-at-home mom and you want to just do this part-time, or you want to do it full-time, or you want to get an integrity deal. Like you can literally make it your own. And so I think that it's so attractive, and just being able to work different time zones, work remotely, the access to the leads that we have, like there's literally nothing else like that. And when you just share highest comp in the industry, and when you share that with people, it's just like it makes sense to them, and it's something, and yeah, there's people that aren't going to see, that don't have that work ethic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But majority of people, if they're in sales or if they're looking for something, it's a no-brainer for them once they really take a look at what we're doing.
Crazy. Just crazy. I'm thinking just, that TikTok that's like crazy. I'm just thinking it's, you know what I mean? Like it's just crazy, but it's awesome. And now you're obviously recruiting licensed insurance agents. But when you go outside and you think about sales, what are some of your hot, types of sales that you think translate well to insurance?
So people in solar sales seem to do decent. People that obviously have insurance experience. People in the restaurant industry I found to be really well. It's funny because I feel like this isn't like a sales job, and so sometimes people, if they have a lot of experience in selling people, don't do the best here.
Right.
They kind of, unless that they really kind of leave that motto and
Sure.
mindset of how they did things to the side and kind of start fresh. Because we're not really selling people, we're servicing families. We're helping to protect them. And people can tell if you're selling, being a salesperson versus you genuinely care about a family.
Definitely.
But people in the restaurant industry, they see their work ethic are great. And people also in other insurance agencies that haven't done so well, that wanted to make it work, they do really well over here as well.
No doubt. Yeah, the restaurant, I come from that industry. That was where I kind of cut my teeth.
There you go.
It's crazy work ethic, and you're right. And I mean, and they're there to take care of people and show them an experience, right? You can't really sell in the restaurant industry. I like the analogy because you already came into the restaurant. Like, what am I selling you? You know what I mean? And no different than our deal. Like, you already filled out a form, right?
Yep.
Like, my job's to service my job is to make your experience worthwhile, for you and your family. And so that translates. And from a work ethic standpoint, that makes sense. If you were talking to a new agent today and you were kind of helping them understand what the opportunity here at FFL is, what would be a parting shot you would leave for us?
I think the biggest thing is I tell people you have to control your emotions. Don't let your highs get too highs. Don't let your lows get too lows. And when anybody that comes on, I tell them, listen, like, you have an opportunity. This is your golden ticket. And it's like doctors, lawyers, what do? They go to school, they do internships. It takes them years to get that. And so I think sometimes people, they come into FFL, they see the big numbers, they see people protecting, 10 plus families a week, and they hold themselves to that standard and expectation. And then when they start off slower, they think that they're failing. And so I always tell people, like, this is a new career, especially, if you haven't been in the insurance industry, it takes time to develop your skill to get there. So I think that's the biggest thing I tell people with is just be consistent, have a consistent schedule, and don't give up. Give it months, because it's going to work out. It's going to pay off. I've seen agents have a slow start and then they get in their groove and then they just take off. And just, keep your emotions under control, and, don't ride the too highs. And it's a business. You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. It's life. Wow. But just staying that steady course of and having an end goal and your why, and keeping that, in mind, because your why pushes you on days you don't want to, work or you're feeling down, so I tell new agents that all the time. I really try to emphasize that with them.
No doubt. I wanted to just get into one thing before I let you go. And this thing might be elusive to some, as they're getting started. You take people in the breakout rooms, kind of show them what you do. What is you get someone on the phone, how do you typically want the conversation? How do you typically lay it out to try to get them to understand what's happening today?
Yeah, I just tell them, straight from the beginning, we're going to do this all because of COVID. We're doing everything over the phone. Takes about 10, 15 minutes, grab a pen and paper real quick, and I let them know, hey, I'm a broker. Life insurance isn't something you can just buy. You do have to qualify for it. And so I say, so all you can do today is, hey, fill out an application. Once you pick a plan, submit it and see what the insurance company says. So they know that they're going to fill out an application. Like they know that they're doing this. So I pretty much lay it out, and people are very fine about doing things for the most part over the phone, just because that's the way of the world is now, which is crazy, so people refinance their house over the phone now.
True. I did that. I was doing that for people in 2005.
Yeah.
I was in the mortgage business for 8 years. I get it.
It's crazy. So yeah, people are very open to it. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, number one, I again appreciate you jumping on with me. You shed a lot of light here, but I think what I learned today is, how much of a machine you are. You're very calm, very cool, very collected, but you're focused. You're going somewhere. You know where you need to be. You know what it's going to take to get there. And I think if I was listening to this as a new agent or someone who was trying to ramp my business up, that's what I'd be seeing. I'd be looking at a model and saying, she ain't messing around. She's got a system, a schedule. She's there for her agent. She's recruiting. So I know there's a lot of nuggets in this. But I'm a kind of a macro guy. So as I'm taking this apart, Erika, I'm feeding it back to my audience, and I'm saying I think you should look at these things, and then probably follow you on Instagram and find ways to see what it is you're doing, because I know for a fact y'all are headed towards 1,000 families a month with speed,
yes,
and with
sir.
a vision and with vigor and with no let up. So. Impressive. Thank you so much for joining us and being able to shed light on some of the things you do. I don't think this will be the last time we have you on, so I'm glad it's the first. We appreciate you so much, Erika. Thank you.
Thank you.
FFL, let's rock and roll. We're breaking records. We're smashing it. Let's keep it rolling. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. FFL blessings. God bless.